What is going on, everybody? This is Tempest Wing with episode 6 of the Rift Herald, which is the NALCS, the premier NALCS podcast, where I talk shop on all the games that have happened in the past week, as well as make predictions on the upcoming week. This week, week 5 in the books. Wow, what can I say? Was this an interesting? Let's go on the positive first. Was this an interesting week to watch? Yes, another week that there was a lot of upsets and things didn't exactly go the way I thought they would. Does this also make the NALCS look weak? Yes, I would say after this week, I can confidently say the top 2 teams are probably Echo Fox and C9, and then the rest of the field is almost completely wide open. I think, if I really wanted to get into it, there are some tiers that could be made between the other 8 teams, but at this point, everybody's picking up wins, and the teams that were picking up a lot of wins or maybe losing to bottom of the table teams. I'll get into it once we go through the games, but I guess the main takeaway from this week is Skarner. If I had one thing to talk about before we get into the games, it's fucking Skarner. If you watched my patch notes video on 8.3, I predicted a decrease in Unsealed Spellbook, which was correct, especially in the jungle position and especially in the jungle Skarner position. I believe Skarner was picked 6 times this week and banned 4, making it 100% priority. Which I thought it would be popular because they slightly nerfed Sejuani and Jarvan. This is a little bit of a rehash of basically slight nerfs to Sejuani and Jarvan. I was kind of like, whatever. Jarvan's sort of out of favor. Anyways, I think we only saw it once this week from Skarner, maybe twice. And then Sejuani was still very popular up there with Skarner as one of the most picked in the week. Kind of Skarner, Jax, and Sejuani taking over that top echelon of junglers at the moment. But yeah, did I say that right? Skarner, Jax, Sejuani. I meant to say Skarner, Jax, Sejuani. But yeah, everybody but Lyra, who played it, I think he was the only one who played it twice. But everybody but Lyra ran. Lyra still went Unsealed Spellbook, which to me is the Virgin Skarner. If you want to play Chad Skarner, you go Predator. And it was the people. Not that Lyra didn't do work on Skarner. Other than getting crazy move speed buffs and fucking ganking people. There are Skarner can get like the Spires and have very strong control over the neutral objectives as well as Baron later in the game, especially. But those who ran Predator. Even in their losses, like Mike Young, I think it was Mike Young, Acadian Contracts, and Onda who played him. Not that it matters, but to me, it does matter because to me, all 4 of those junglers are some degree of aggressive or have played aggressively in the past, so it sort of fits their play style, which Lyra in the past was an extremely aggressive jungler. I'm not sure what's up with him this split, but I felt like he went a little more. If you don't go Predator, you're just not going to be as impactful in the early game. That's just the bottom line. And if you run Predator, that's just another easy way to run Zombie Ward, which I think is a really good rune as well. So yeah, this was almost like the week of Skarner. I think, week 4 was the first time we saw Skarner. He kind of popped out of nowhere after receiving a buff earlier in the season. I wasn't following the patch notes as closely then, but it seems like he's arguably the premier jungler, and I'll go ahead and start getting into the games, but I feel like teams sort of just don't. They're almost like not used to playing against it. Because they're not used to or they're not used to the Predator almost as well because they're just sort of caught unawares by just how much movement speed they get, and then even tanks who think they're safe with the movement speed buff. I mean, this is going to sound obvious, but basically, the more movement speed you have, since Skarner's ult is a fixed amount of time, if you're moving crazy fast, you can drag your target way away from the team. So you're seeing even like front line, just grab someone from the front line, drive him a million miles away from the team, and even though he's tanky as fuck, you could still burst him down, and then it's a 5v4 for your team. So I'm just wondering if teams are gonna like figure out, hey, this is what Skarner does. I don't know, maybe it's not quite that simple, but let's get into some games. So the first game is and my predictions. I did okay. I did better than last week. Last week I did pretty abysmal. That was. I mean, these past 2 weeks have just been so many upsets. It seems like I almost need to start like not maybe not going too face roll on my predictions. But I got 60% correct, which is twice as good as I did last week. So I'll take it. The first game was CLG TL. I predicted this correctly. I thought TL would have the win, although TL definitely looked weak in week 5. I thought that in the CLG game, they start out with sort of a more slow, methodical play style. There are no kills, and actually CLG ends up getting first blood, but there are no kills in this game for fucking excuse me. Like almost over 25 minutes. Yeah, around the 25, 26 minute mark. And TL is getting, I mean, like, granted, TL is getting all of the objectives. Like, they're getting towers. I mean, like, double lift and I almost said African. Double lift and Ole, like, straight get the bot turret in the 2v2. They do have a stronger lane, in my opinion. And then TL is able to get the dragons and the Rift Herald as well. But they sort of flub up when it comes to Baron. They get the Baron. They're able to kill a few. They get the Baron, but CLG does a good job of sort of fighting back, and they almost wipe everyone on TL dies except Smithy. So it's sort of like not even really worth it. And it wasn't as apparent in this game, but I do not know what these teams are doing, just not banning Zoe. Like, who he played an okay Zoe and was still doing a lot of damage. I mean, I'll get to the other games later where I saw Zoe was another champion that was 100% pick ban. I feel like I say this every week. But yeah, she actually got through 3 times. And was banned the other 7. I don't understand, like, especially if you're grouped up like around an objective, you're hitting somebody with the is the trouble bubble I don't even know what her fucking abilities are called because I hate this champion so much. But basically her sleep dart thing, you're gonna hit somebody with that, right? Even if it misses, it'll spread. The AOE will spread. So COG is able to capitalize on some of this, but TL just not showing as much aggression in this game as I thought they would, and I thought it was going to be a positive thing at first. Because TL normally just have to smash. I mean, they don't have to, but they normally smash their games early, and that's how they get massive leads, and then they sort of close the game out that way. And it's exciting to watch, and they look really good when they're doing it. But since the first couple weeks, now that we're getting towards the middle of the season, you do see them if they're not able to get some of those leads, not be able to do much to get back in the game. I mean, maybe the exception being their game against Echo Fox a couple weeks ago. They did manage to win a team fight, come back in the game, fighting around Gnar, and then getting Baron. But they're playing Echo Fox, and Echo Fox will throw. Echo Fox is literally like playing. They're like playing chicken with you, like. They're playing Connect 4, and they're, like, letting you get 3 of them in a row, and then they're like, I fucking dare you to get the 4th one, and then they're just like, nope, fuck you, we're gonna just pull it back at the last minute. I'll get into Echo Fox later. I think they're a really solid team, but they have one very obvious weakness, in my opinion. But with TL, they're able to beat CLG, obviously one of the weaker teams, in my opinion. Definitely at bottom of the table. CLG is it looks like I want to say I want them to be a lot better next week. I feel like they played 100 Thieves and TL, and I mean both of the I mean almost it's almost like who's like slumping the least. It's like if everybody's slumping, who is not slumping as hard as the other people? Because TL and 100 Thieves are definitely actually I would say 100 Thieves looked better than they did in week 4. TL kind of on a downtrend, but I want CLG to do better. I see like moments of brightness. Like I think Rainover looked better this week than he has all split. Darshan is hella iffy, but like I thought Huhi and Rainover were probably the strongest players. This bot lane is still pretty non-existent in my eyes, but I want them to look better, but I mean, I can't until I see it. I can't believe it. So I think this one. I mean, the result was what I expected, but TL basically, as I was saying earlier, TL just kind of played a lot differently. They played a lot more methodically, and it kind of bit them in the butt a little bit. But and I'll talk about the other TL game because that was another shit show. But a win is a win, so we'll give it to TL no matter how they got there. But I'll move on to the next game, which is Echo Fox versus 100 Thieves. I predicted Echo Fox to win correctly. So yeah, Echo Fox. Well, I'll talk about this more because Echo Fox played C9, and those are both, I think, the best two teams in the league. So I'll talk about their overall standing earlier. But with this game, interesting notes. I mean, they ban a lot of comfort picks. It seems like Callista for Altec, Gangplank for Huni, and Zach for Dardoch. So 100 Thieves banned those 3 champions first rotation. I mean that's a smart draft. I mean they're able to pick up Gnar, but I think Gangplank / Zach or Gnar / Zach has sort of been the Huni Dardoch iconic duo. Dardoch's been picking up this Jax a little more recently, and he's able to do some solid work with that. But Dardoch is playing hugely around top. Not to mention this is Huni's Yasuo game for those of you who didn't watch. And honestly, I thought the Yasuo pick was interesting because I thought it was kind of lackluster until it got and I have no idea like what to even expect from Yasuo because I don't see that champion a lot and I don't it, but it seemed like it sort of got online a little bit later in the game when he could split and do some shit and sort of just pressure a fight, but in lane it was pretty whatever, but I mean yeah, Altec and Adrian basically have I think they sort of have like a good they seem to go for like these fighting lanes. Like Adrian's on Braum or Alistar, and then in this case, Altec's on Tristana. Just fucking like oh, and then the Phoenix on fucking Zoe again. Like this is such a fight comp because they have knockups for Huni, and then he can actually ult off of the Tristana ult, and then I feel like Altec is just like whenever I see him playing Tristana in team fights, he's just like leaping into like the middle of the team, and he's like getting away with it because he's just doing so much fucking damage and like no one is hitting him. And I feel like they just have to run these like hella aggro comps. Like Zoe can just get a pick and then almost one shot someone, and then basically they could snowball the game from there. But let me see if there's anything I can think of that. I mean, there is the one instance. I mean, for me, this is Echo Fox's biggest weakness, and I feel like I'm a broken record saying this, just like I'm a broken record saying to ban Zoe every game. But just that they always throw at some point in the game. They always overcommit, and no team is perfect in the NALCS. But I just feel like Echo Fox. It just seems like all the other teams are just like not good enough to fully capitalize it, or that Echo Fox is already so far ahead. Even if they do throw a little bit, there's no way the team can get back in the game. But I mean, they just like greed and just they're turret diving and fighting, and it gets to the point where they actually can fight. They can almost fight like at a disadvantage, like with a man down, but like it's just not really a intelligent decision. Like I don't know. For me, if you have a Trist and trying to see if they had what Drakes they had. Yeah, it doesn't say. It doesn't say, and I didn't write down what Drake they got. But basically, Trist and then with either Infernal or Mountain Drake, you're gonna want to be just like ram. And if you have Trist and Baron, basically, yeah, you're sieging, and they sort of do throw away. They sort of do throw away their Baron buff at one point, just kind of like over diving. And I'm waiting for them to get bit in the butt by it, but it hasn't happened yet. And this is a game where, yeah, back to the Zoe thing. This is a game where, I mean, Aphromoo on a somewhat squishy Morgana literally gets one shot, and then that allows Echo Fox to get the Baron and then basically win the game. So it's just getting stupid. But yeah, and then there's a team fight at the end. Sorry, I'm a little out of a little discombobulated on this one. But yeah, basically like by the end of the game, you know, Hooney's sort of distracting, split pushing and goes down, but it's like Echo Fox can just win these fights because they do so much damage and they're so far ahead. So I mean, yeah, I would say it wasn't particularly misplayed by 100 Thieves, but they basically just kind of got smashed in. Would be my takeaway there. I don't really know what you do. I mean, you shut down. I mean, you have to camp the fuck. It seemed like this week in particular, Dardoch was definitely playing around Hooney. I know the meme is like Hooney and Dardoch are like attached at the hip, but Dardoch does gank for Phoenix a lot. I would say the bot lane is largely neglected, but I mean, I would say they're the weakest link on the team. So if you're playing around someone, you're playing against Phoenix and Hooney, who are both like very aggressive players. So, not that Altec and Adrian aren't aggressive because they do go for shit on their own, but Dardoch can kind of chill in the jungle, like in the top side jungle, just between top and mid, and kind of pick between those two. What was I just talking about? Oh well, totally lost my train of thought there. But oh yeah, Dardoch this week is definitely spending a lot of time around top. So what 100 Thieves could have done is just really try to hammer in top, which I mean they did kill they did kill Hooney for first blood. With even Ryu on Talia, he came up, and then it was Ryu, Meteos, and Someday kill him. So I guess you just really have to. But see, their bot lane. They picked. I feel like they picked almost. I don't want to say they picked a losing bot lane, but Echo Fox, I guess, just had the better bot lane. I would value Trist. I mean, I think Trist Braum. Yeah, no, I'd say Trist Braum. I think is better than Jinx Morg, just because the Braum can shield a lot of the damage, and I would favor a tank support over a mage. But I won't harp on the draft too much. But yeah, moving on to C9 versus TSM. This is our first look at the Skarner, the Chad Skarner from Mike Young. He does get first blood by Predator ganking mid, which is the shit that I want to see. Bjergsen is able to roam. They roam bot, and then to recap, C9 versus TSM. C9 wins. I predicted that correctly. I feel like no one gives a shit, but Smoothie played. It's not that he played poorly this week, but I feel like his role on the team has been a lot of like crowd control and zone, and he'll be kind of like, I'm gonna die, but like you'll get an objective for it. And I feel like he sort of was out of position a lot, and he did a good job of like not wasting his summoners, because like you can flash and still die, and it looks stupid when you just stand around and like not blow your flash and just like stand in the fucking furnace and just get roasted. But I felt like he was getting caught out a lot this week. Which, I mean, he's still a pretty good player overall, but that was just something that definitely cost them more in their game against Echo Fox, which I'll talk about later. In this game, it didn't matter too much because C9 definitely had a better play. I mean, I feel like TSM was fairly aggressive. They had the Skarner, they had the Talia, but they sort of overcommit for certain things. They send all 5 men bot to kill Smoothie, allowing C9 to get pressure in the other lanes. But Mike Young is definitely going for good aggressive plays, and also is good at just starting the objectives. Unfortunately, I feel like at one point in the game, it's Ocean Drake versus Rift Herald, where TSM get the Ocean Drake, C9 get the Rift Herald. I guess it depends on the Drake, but in this case, since it's Ocean Drake, I would definitely rather have the Rift Herald. I mean, I think C9 got the better end of that trade, but I mean, it's good. But basically, Mike Young started basically. C9 reacted to Mike Young starting the Drake, and as I keep saying with the Skarner buff with the Spires in the river, that's basically if you're not, I mean, in week 4 before people were running Predator, that was basically their main job. They were like, all right, you might not see me use my ult for a while, but I'm gonna fucking get every single dragon and neutral objective if possible, just because my attack speed is like 1,000,000 and I don't use mana basically. And then this week we're definitely seeing Skarner yanking people more, but Mike Young, it seemed like he had a bad week, but I felt like, I mean, he definitely tried to go for shit. It just seemed like in some cases the Sejuani into Skarner is rough, just because you like zoom in and then Sedge can just ult you, and then if you're not tanky, you're kind of just fucking dead in a lot of cases. So there's another instance later that I'll talk about. I forget what game it is, but we'll get to it, and I'll remember because I'm looking at the comps and I'll see that it's Sejuani versus Skarner, and I'll talk about it then. I'm pretty sure it was Optic versus FlyQuest, but because this was the only game where the Skarner lost, and in the other game in FlyQuest versus Optic, the Skarner probably maybe should have lost, because that was a really dumb ending to that game. But yeah, I think Skarner into Sejuani. I mean, I can look at the other. Oh, this was the first Skarner game. I'll look at the other drafts and see how they drafted around the Skarner. But yeah, I mean, I think Smoothie is just too solid on this Taric. Sejuani Taric is pretty fucking stupid. You put the stun on the fucking Sejuani, and it's like giving the Sejuani more CC. I think Smoothie is probably the best Taric NA. He definitely does the most with Taric ults, where you can just kind of prolong a fight. And if you have Taric ult, that's kind of a counter to Skarner, where if you can get it on the guy before he gets dragged off to his death, then it almost sort of negates that. But I would say Smoothie did. I would say Sven probably did the most work this game. Just had a lot of clean engages with the Sejuani. I mean, Sven is basically spamming Sejuani, so you can say what you will about that, but I mean, I thought he did pretty fucking good. And hey, he beat TSM, his former team, so props to him for proving him wrong and whatever. Or I don't know, but I would get that's about as political as I like to get on this show. I try to stay pretty neutral because honestly, the opinions that I used to have on certain LCS teams kind of just died because I would only watch the games that I wanted to watch, but now that I watch every game, I pretty much just want to see. I watch so much League, I pretty much just want to see good gameplay, regardless of what team. And this week I did not see that much good gameplay, but oh well. All right, moving on to FlyQuest, FlyQuest versus Clutch, and this is another game where it's the Skarner versus Sejuani matchup. So I guess it depends on sort of how you play it, because I thought I thought Lyra did a pretty okay job. Lyra obviously, or I keep saying obviously like I'm some sort of prick. Lyra, as I was saying earlier, hey guys, sorry to cut in. I had a audio issue, and I'm really glad that I noticed it because I only lost a couple minutes of, if that, of audio recording instead of the entire episode, which literally happened the first episode I ever recorded, which was a little discouraging. But anyways, let's get back into talking about Clutch versus FlyQuest. So Lyra was running. So Lyra runs Unsealed Spellbook this game instead of Predator, and is not as impactful. And basically, he does get caught out. Him and Apollo get cut out because Clutch follow Lyra into the enemy jungle. Lyra's trying to get the blue buff, and FlyQuest are able to group and go kill two, and the two kills go to Vladimir. And I'm, at this point, I'm thinking, wow, that's really good that Vladimir gets first blood and a double kill. At this point, because for me, Vladimir either has to really get rolling early or make it to late and just like be a monster in team fights. And unfortunately, in this game, Fly on the Vladimir never really gets off the ground. Clutch, their play style is, I noticed this last week when they played TSM. Well, they played TSM this week too. Actually, I noticed it in both games. But they sort of play for like the late game, and they do the Gathering Storm, and they're pretty good at, if they're behind, they're pretty good at coming back or just sort of controlling the map until they can scale up. And that's basically what they do this game. FlyQuest, so to talk about FlyQuest roster, nothing too unusual. They basically did what they did last week where they used JJ one game, stun another game. So this game they used JJ, and every time they use JJ, or JJ has lost both of his games, in the past 2 weeks. Stun has won both of his games. You can say what you will about that. I don't think it's necessarily. Well, let me put it this way. Last week, I thought he and Stunt were comparable. This game, it's not like JJ played badly, but I definitely did see Stunt perform better in their victory against Optic, if you even want to call that a victory, and I'll get to that later. But I'm still not sure what they're doing with JJ. But I don't think It's not like he's the reason why they lost, but he's definitely not the reason why he's not going to have them win either. So that's how I feel about JJ. And then maybe I just don't have too much to say about this game. Yeah, I honestly don't. Some Clutch, they lose two, and then they sort of are able to catch out FlyQuest and sort of scale up and win late. So yeah, I'll move on to the next game, which is Optic versus Golden Guardians. This might have been one of the bigger throw fests of the game. Well, not the throw fest, but definitely a mid-game, what have you. This was a fun game because we saw some signature picks coming in. Power of Evil on the Victor, Arrow on the Draven. This was definitely a badass Draven game from Arrow. He was slicing people up in the bot lane. Lemon did it. Braum and Draven is such a good combo. Like Lemon was setting them up, but like with the Braum passive, they're just 2v2 winning that lane. And Draven was able to cash in on his adoration stacks early, which was important, just to sort of get that snowball going. And then the Drakes they got this game were ridiculous. They got, what did they have? They had 3 Cloud Drakes with Skarner and Draven. Like, that's the dream right there. You're just running people down left and right. And this was a fairly clean game. Like I was saying, there was definitely a what have you in the mid game where like Acadian got caught out, then Matt gets caught out, then Zig gets caught out, and then I think earlier Lemon gets caught. People are just getting caught out, but it was a strong performance from Acadian. in general on the Skarner. I thought he looked. I mean, for me, it's like I just want to see Skarner just like trying to go for shit. He wasn't the best Skarner by any means, but well, actually, he might have been one of the better Skarners. Is there anything else I need to say about this game? Basically, they had a really strong, like the fact that Draven could get ahead early, and then they have basically I'll say 3.5 tanks, and then a Draven. There's just nothing that not contracts. I was looking at contracts' name. Nothing that Golden Guardians could really do. Power of Evil. I guess his only tank item was Rylai's, but I mean, he was decently tanky by the end, and they just could not. Golden Guardian just could not like get to Arrow, who's just doing all the fucking damage in the world. But actually, Power of Evil was like the low key fed one because Draven was popping off early, and I feel like Power of Evil this week was really good in the fact that he racked up a lot of kills, but he also was dishing out the damage. He wasn't just being a KDA monger or anything, but I didn't even realize it to the end, but I was just like, yeah, Power of Evil is like actually really fed this game, and he's just kind of like the quiet strength that Optic have, because I feel like Acadian and Arrow are both pretty aggressive players, and Power of Evil is definitely he's definitely rolling around with those guys sometimes, making plays, but on the Victor you definitely need time to ramp up, and he didn't. The good news is he didn't get too shit on early game. And that's all you can really ask for as Victor these days is survive that laning phase where your fucking item can sort of stack up. They basically Acadian gets first blood for Victor in the mid lane against High, so they kind of babysit him a little bit and get the Victor rolling just because Talia can be a bit of a bully in lane. Okay. So yeah, pretty solid game other than the fact that there are a lot of people getting caught out on other teams, and I was kind of like, what the fuck about that? Let's move on to the next game. Oh, here we go. Is this Clutch again? Weren't we just talking about Clutch? Oh no, Clutch was 2 games ago. So this is Clutch versus TSM. I sort of like facetiously predicted Clutch to win because Clutch and TSM legit played each other last week, and Clutch won. So I was like, all right, well, if Clutch won last week, they'll win again. But they actually won in a very different fashion. Last week, they basically relied on Apollo to steal a lot of objectives, mainly the Baron. Basically, him stealing that Baron pretty much turned the tide in that game. I think TSM probably was going to win, but they just play a very slow mid game where when they do have advantages, they don't exactly proactively try to just end the fucking game before everything goes wrong, and then everything did go wrong. But this game, Clutch was definitely a lot more in the driver's seat. And this is, Lyra, as I said before, Lyra, again, is running the Virgin Skarner, which is Unsealed Spellbook. But he ganks. Actually, Hunters pretty much just run and guns solo down for first blood with some assistance from Mike Young, but and they get solo, but Lyra immediately returns top, kills Hunters, so he's all over the place. He gets the Infernal Drake, which is key. That's good on a lot of these champions. To me, this is like I felt like it took Clutch a little while to get rolling, but with this comp with Camille and Zoe and Zaya, you're just doing a million damage once you get rolling, and that's basically what happened. And I'm gonna go in deep on this draft, and yeah, I'm a Twitter analyst, so I'm gonna talk some shit about these drafts, about coaches that definitely know more about the game than I do, but I just don't understand So Clutch Gaming in the first round banned Rise Talia Galio, which is a lot of what Bjergsen has been playing. And then they first pick the Skarner. And then in their first rotation, TSM pick Azir, which basically frees up Clutch to get Zoe. And I'm just like, would this have mattered if like Febiven played Azir and then Bjergsen played Zoe? No. But is Zoe a stupid broken champion? Yes. So I don't know. That's my little nitpick of the week, which probably won't be the only nitpick of the week. But another thing that I noticed as far as comp wise, I thought the Skarner Camille combo was really good. You just drag someone in the fucking Thunderdome and then they can't get out. And this is another situation where Mike Young is kind of a little off kilter. He's on the Sejuani. He's on Sejuani duty, but he's not doing an A+ job. He does his best to try to steal Baron when Clutch is doing it. I just felt like he was sort of going for things that were a little risky, or he was just sort of mispositioned. Like, he's a prime example of maybe disrespecting the Skarner ult, and then him being the tank is like still just getting chunked down by the enemy team because Apollo on Xayah. I mean, think about it this way too. If you Skarner pull someone in and you have the Zoe sleep dart thing, that's like a pretty easy combo to set up. And then meanwhile, Apollo is doing 1 million damage on Xayah. And then another thing, yeah, this was just a really good. I mean, this was like a game where I definitely saw strong. And I don't know if it's the skins. I don't know if it's the because those Love Sweetheart skins just came out for the duo. And Apollo and Hakuho, they've been together a while and they're playing Xayah Raccoon. But I thought this was definitely a game where they made good plays with the Raccoon initiate and then the Xayah just able to follow up, and I thought they played well together against Sven and Mithy, who Mithy on Taric. Since I'm the unofficial Taric expert, I'm going to say this Taric was very underwhelming from Mithy, and yeah. So good job from Clutch. They actually did a pretty fair job in this game, I thought, of getting their win condition. All right. Moving on to Golden Guardians versus TL, aka I am losing my faith in humanity. What is happening? But hey, it's Skarner again. It's contracts on the old Predator Skarner. And guess what happens? He ganks mid and kills Pobelter. Actually, that wasn't First Blood, though. So Impact is playing Scion, and we see 3 Scion games. Impact, Someday, and Zig, and my general impression is pretty low. I'm not about this Scion pick. I feel like it's an interesting pick in a meta where Skarner is just like, I'm just drilling this fucking Skarner thing into the ground, but it's a weird pick into Skarner because I feel like unless either Skarner runs at you and you use the ult to get away, or you ult into Skarner and then Skarner just ults you and pulls you further in and then you die. Because in a game, in these games that I keep seeing where it's Skarner against the Scion just pulls the Scion, and Scion is literally one of the most tanky characters in the game, but he does no fucking damage. So if you pull him in, it's just like, all right, like, it's gonna take them a while if they have enough time to kill you, they'll just do it, and then you don't do any fucking damage anyways, and then they're just kind of laughing all the way to the bank. But TL they make a good play. They get first blood, first tower. They actually get first tower in the top lane, but Impact TP's bot, and they have a 4-man, and they get first blood onto Varus, and then very shortly after that is the pick onto Pobelter, but I don't know. For me, it's like I felt like TL was definitely going for like like their heart was in the right place, as in they were being proactive and they were going for the right plays. It's just their execution was kind of sloppy. You see Xmithy sort of getting chased out of the fight. Double lift definitely mispositioning in certain team fights where he's sort of like leaping in as Tristana to just kind of kill himself. And it seems like TL is just another team that doesn't know how to play around the Skarner. I mean, I almost want to say like the teams that I mean, Xmithy played Jax and did he play Jax? Yeah, he played Jax and Sejuani this week, and I don't think he's had a single game on Skarner. It's almost like the teams that don't play Skarner just like don't understand what Skarner fucking does. The exception being TSM because they definitely didn't respect that pick, and it's such a weird concept for me because I feel like I've always treated Skarner as the champion, where it's just like, yeah, he's gonna run at you, so just don't get stung by the stinger. But I feel like TL like definitely with teams that are aggro and that are just always like looking for, because I feel like TL does do a pretty good job. Like I said in their previous game against CLG, they played more slowly and methodically, and that almost like made them seem worse in a way. But I felt like in this game they definitely went for things that their execution was just sort of, they're just sort of picked apart by the. I thought Golden Guardians had a good team fighting comp that I wouldn't have expected them to pull off maybe in previous weeks, but I thought Lorlo and Matt actually looked better than they normally did. Matt just being a fucking just bodying people with Braum, bodying people in the sense that he just gets in the fucking way with his shield. And then Lorlo had some good Gnar TP flanks. And then just a very good utility comp. I mean, your carries are Orianna and Varus. So a lot of damage and a lot of utility, basically. And I think that's sort of how Golden Guardians win, is highs on a utility champ, contracts gets in your fucking face, and then everyone else just sort of peels for the main damage dealer, which I would assume is definitely in this case. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad to see because I don't really consider TL to be a top team anymore. Yeah, I mean, you can't be losing to Golden Guardians at this point, but Golden Guardians, are they still pretty bad? Yes, but I thought that their victory over TL did show glimmers of hope that I would like to see in the future, but I won't accept it until it actually happens. So, all right, let's talk about the next match, which is Echo Fox C9, because these are the best. These are the top two. I mean, for me, it's literally like, I mean, this is a generalization, but for me, it's almost like top two, bottom eight, where I haven't thought too much about where the other eight lie, but I do feel like Echo Fox and C9 are definitively the top two teams after this week. That could be just, that could seem very obvious based on the standings because they are literally the top two teams. But I mean, C9 being 8-2 because they've only lost to Echo Fox twice now, and then Echo Fox being 9-1, and their only loss was to CLG, lol. But I think overall, C9 is the better team, but for whatever reason, they just had a weird matchup against Echo Fox, and the first time they played against them was so early on, it was hard for me to tell. But going in, I was definitely thinking that C9 was going to win this game, but they go for almost like the disrespect by picking Licorice or picking Lucian into Huni, which is just like, yeah, that's like fucking sick if you can play Huni's pick against him and fucking swag on him in the same matchup that Huni did in week 1 against Flame. But Huni's going to know a thing or two, and they sort of are able to neutralize this Lucian. And the bad thing about Lucian getting behind is that it just got to a certain point of the game where literally anybody could kill him. I was like, oh shit, Huni is solo killing Licorice. And I was like, oh shit, Phoenix is solo killing Licorice. And it was just like, Licorice is just fucking useless at a certain point. And it's just like, did they really need to pick the Lucian there? Like, I understand that they're trying to go for like spicy picks, and they're definitely like to play around Licorice. And I think that's okay. But I mean, let's see what they even banned. I guess they banned the Gnar and the Camille, which are in his wheelhouse. But it's like, I mean, we've seen him play Kled. Um, we've seen him play. Actually, he's been playing a lot of Gnar. So banning the Gnar and getting Gangplank was actually pretty smart in this draft. But yeah, I did not like the Lucian pick. You could see early game. Sven was definitely doing a good job of bullying Dardoch. So this is the one Jarvan game. So Sven played Jarvan, Dardoch played Sejuani. And I mean level 3, Jarvan in like a duel shits on Sejuani, so they kind of have the right idea where they know that Dardoch is gonna try to fuck with probably Licorice in this setup. So they sort of are able to almost neutralize that, but C9 picked a losing bot lane here. And Altec and Adrian, I mean, this is just another example where they're aggro as fuck. I don't think they got punished too much for it this game. But yeah, I mean, Callista with the Tom Kench with the Callista ult, they set up some good flanks later in the game, and they can kind of just run them down once Callista sort of gets going. And they are able to be so aggressive in the bot lane and get Smoothie. I feel like it's sort of, there was an instance where Licorice died in the top lane, and it looked like an instance where Smoothie maybe could have set up a roam, but he was dead, and then basing, and it seemed like he was like heading top because they realized, I think Licorice had already died at this point, and was about to die again. But I think Cloud9 realized, they're like, hey, fucking Licorice needs help. And then Smoothie's on Alistar, which I think is his best champion. So he's like, yo, I'll roll top. And it was sort of too little too late, just because he was dead. They just lost a fight in the bot lane, and he went down. But Phoenix on the Vladimir got out of control. This was what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, you really need to either snowball the fucking game or get to late game and just be a monster. Phoenix legit kills Sneaky in a 1v2 and then gets away and then lives. So he was doing some serious work. And this is another thing where it's like, yeah, these Echo Fox throw away a lot of their shit, but they also just play aggro. It's like, in your right mind, if you're Vladimir, would you try to 1v or go against two people and kill the squishy 80 carry? Maybe not. Maybe you'd back out. But Phoenix is like, nah, I'm just gonna fucking kill this squishy Ezreal and then get away. So I mean, you get to the point in the game where both teams are sort of looking at Baron, but C9 are able to catch a couple members of Echo Fox out, and then they get Baron, because Huni is over by he's like, so on red side, red buff, which is not that far from the Baron pit. He's trying to like steal red, and then he gets basically caught out, and some of Echo Fox try to go help him, and then Huni goes down, Adrian goes down. So a little greedy there. Just, that's another example. I mean, this is a smaller example, but another example of how Echo Fox just kind of fucking throw away their lead sometimes, because Cloud9 does get Baron, but they're not really able to get much off of it. And Echo Fox have some good flanks. They get a good flank with Tom Kench and can win the fight. Like, after the Baron, C9 was still down 5k gold. Normally you get Baron and it's like, hey, you can equalize the gold or you can get some objectives, but C9 only had 3 towers total this game. So, and I think one or two, and at least one of them was from the Baron. So it was sort of too little too late at that point. All right, let's move on to 100 Thieves, CLG, aka ARAM. What can I say about this? Aphromoo played Bard, and he died a lot. And the reason why is that I felt like it was a combination of him definitely looking like for picks. Like, he did a good job setting up some early plays bot with the magical journey, coming in with Meteos, getting a kill bot. But I thought Rainover was pretty. So Rainover against him was on the Sejuani. I thought Rainover was pretty on point. Rainover looked better. I mean, maybe marginally better this week than in the past, but he didn't do too much stupid shit that I can think of. But I just Aphromoo did die. I mean, it's one thing if like people were getting caught out, but he literally got caught out like 3 times in a row. So it's just kind of like, all right, dude, like we get that you're trying to make plays, but you're a fucking squishy bard, and they have a Sejuani, and he just gets ulted down and stunned every time. But he definitely does have some good plays later, despite that, because he is actively looking for shit, and I mean, which is partially why he's dying. Because Bardol is like a good counter to the Taric ult, because if they're Taric ulted, you just bard them, and then they can't do anything. They basically waste their invulnerability, or their immunity, because they're invulnerable and can't fucking move. And this is another weird pick too, where Someday was on the Scion, and Scion into Gnar, Sejuani, Taric is just kind of like, all right, you're probably just gonna run in and get CC locked, and then not get your CC off, and then not do any damage. But this just turned into a shit show, because it was basically, I really wanted to see. I thought CLG would win this game, because I thought they would set up they executed their plan, which is play around Darshan early, which they sort of half-assed. Like they got first blood. I mean, it's Huhi on the Corki, so he can roam up. So it's they 3-man top, get first blood onto Darshan, and it's like, wow, how many times have I fucking seen CLG do this? It's like every fucking game. And then they sort of don't really do too much with Darshan after that. And Darshan just plays. I just feel like he bites off a lot more than he can chew. Okay, sorry again. It's some weird thing. Like if I unplug my headset too much, then it just goes staticky. So, sorry again to cut out. I was talking about CLG versus 100 Thieves, and I was talking about Darshan. How they were basically able to get him, try to get him ahead is usually their main goal. But it's again where like this game just draws out so much, because it's another fucking ARAM game, and I feel like it's like, hey, if you have, I like to see CLG 1-3-1, like their game against whatever game CLG was playing. Oh, it's when CLG played TSM, and they just had Huhi in the side lane on Fiora, and he was just running down, solo killing fucking haunters over and over again. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of their MO. And it's like, if you have a Corki and a Gnar, like that's a decent 1-3-1. You put the boys in the mid. I mean, it's not too much wave clear with, and I guess maybe that's the problem, is that if it's Ezreal, Sedge, Taric, that's not enough wave clear against Ryze, Trist, Jax. But I mean, Gnar and Corki are such good split pushers. You could at least like try to do something there. Like in the game I'm about to talk about, Fly versus Optic, we saw Flame just fucking split push like a demon on the Gnar. But it's just like another thing where I feel like CLG, like their bot lane, like I want to see, like for me it's like, all right, I want to see their bot lane step up, and maybe that's how they have to win, because to me their strengths are, dare I say it, Darshan and Huhi. Huhi more so than Darshan, but for me it's like, yeah, if those guys can just get the fucking side waves going, and yeah, maybe they're not 1-3-1ing to the fucking Nexus, but I just don't like to see these ARAM games go on for too long, and you know, it kind of goes back and forth. Both teams get Baron. I mean, it took 100 Thieves 3 Barons to win a game, and CLG got a Baron in there too. So there's 4 Barons. I mean, a game with 4 Barons, that's just, I don't like that. That's sloppy. So that's a victory to 100 Thieves, but both teams got to step up here. And then we go to FlyQuest versus Optic. This game. Oh my god, this is another one. Where I'll just skip to the ending, because that's the most important part. But basically Optic win a fight late, and they're able to shove into they basically are like autoing the Nexus, and then they wipe trying to end. And it's like, if they if they backed off, would they have won the game? Maybe. They would have had a shot, but they didn't. Because basically, FlyQuest got the early advantage, and this was another game where it was around like 25 minutes, and I knew the scoreline and I knew the game time before I was going in, and I was just like, because I was watching the VOD, and I was like, how the fuck does this game last another 20 minutes? And then I found out. How do FlyQuest get the early lane? I mean I mean CS wise, lane wise, both of their side lanes are winning. Caitlyn is definitely a strong pick into the Draven, and the problem with the Draven is he wasn't like feeding by any means, but he did not get a kill until very far into the game. I want to say like 30 minutes into the game, he got his first kill, which means he is not nearly as able to he's not able to snowball nearly as much as he did in the previous game that Arrow played Draven in this week. But they have a good FlyQuest just have such a good engage. They have Azir, they have Gnar, they have Skarner again. But this was the game where I really noticed that the Skarner into Sejuani was just sort of a mismatch. Just Acadian, I thought Acadian played pretty fucking good this game. Just definitely going ham on the Sejuani. Definitely realizing situations where he may have the leg up on the Skarner. Catches Onda out early game, and that's how they get first blood. But another thing that is interesting is that Optic get a couple Mountain Drakes, right? They have at least one Mountain Drake. Oh, and then yeah, this is the crazy thing. Like I almost think Optic. I mean, I think Optic would have won this game, in my opinion, if they hadn't wiped. Because basically they wipe at the Nexus, and the Nexus is at low health, and then fucking the death timers are so long that FlyQuest just come back up and then win. But Power of Evil was fed as fuck. Like he got so many picks, and he was definitely making the Syndra pick work. I mean, he's the only person out here playing Victor and playing Syndra. Like he definitely. I mean, these champions are definitely like his champions. Like he knows how to play. Like he one shot stunt with the like full Syndra combo at least twice. I saw it at least twice. And FlyQuest is using stunt in this game, not JJ. Stunt is on the Janna, and I thought the reason why I like stunt better than JJ is stunt, and it might have been the pick because Janna you could definitely flex nuts harder for your AD carry. Well, I guess Morg too, but I saw Stunt doing some serious peels where he'd flash ult because like Wild Turtle, you gotta babysit that kid. Sometimes he's gonna do some crazy ass shit, and there's definitely one key team fight that sort of saw FlyQuest sort of round the corner into when they should have definitely started to close out the game, but then ultimately didn't and almost let Optic beat them. But basically just like killing himself so that Turtle could basically like flash ulting in so that the enemies get pushed back. Turtle can sort of reposition, get healed up. Stunt dies like immediately, but the other members of the team are able to clean up, and Wild Turtle at this point can free auto. He has a lot of peel for him. Like I said, Gnar, Skarner, Azir. So yeah, I liked Stunt better this week than JJ. But hey, I mean, more power to them for using. They're the only team thus far that's really doing this whole like academy swap thing. Actually, they're the only team that's actually used subs ever because they're doing the whole shrimp. Though they used Keen because they had to, and then they used Shrimp because they thought they wanted to, and then that was a huge mistake. And then now they're voluntarily swapping out Stun and JJ. So yeah, that was this week in the books. The week of Skarner concludes. We're definitely gonna have to see what happens next week. I feel like every team, like I said, I think every team is in some sort of slump. I mean, you could say like Golden Guardians are almost on the rise, and I thought this would be FlyQuest's week, and I can run down the teams real quick. I thought FlyQuest would look a lot better. They looked so good, and not so good, but they looked pretty fucking strong in week 4 once they finally got Fly. And I mean, maybe they'll do. I guess I expected Clutch. I think Clutch looked better than I thought, as well. And I think Golden Guardians definitely have made some improvements. It's hard because the teams that are looking better are the teams that it's like everybody switched, right? Like I wanted to say that I wanted TL and maybe like 100. Well, no, I thought 100 Thieves looked pretty bad, but it's like I thought 100 Thieves, Clutch, and Golden Guardians were just going to be shit this week, and they actually I thought improved in some ways. And then I guess I expected more out of teams like TL, TSM, CLG. But hey, what are name brands anyways? It's season 8. Who fucking cares? So I'll get into my predictions for week 6, and the first matchup is 100 Thieves versus C9. Um, I'm giving it to C9. I thought, yeah, like I was just saying, I thought 100 Thieves, they pick smart fights. So this will be an interesting because in this game against CLG in particular, they were picking fights where CLG would win a fight, get a couple kills, but then they'd sort of overstay their welcome, and 100 Thieves would get some very quick, sort of decisive kills in return, sort of neutralizing an otherwise victory for CLG or for 100 Thieves. So I feel like it'll be interesting to see these two teams match up because at their peaks, these are the two smartest teams. But we haven't seen any peaks from 100 Thieves in a while, and I think C9 looks pretty strong. I mean, they definitely had a decisive win against TSM, and I think Sven's Garen is more reliable than Meteos at this point. Meteos is a little bit of a question mark for me. So is Ryu. Actually, so is Aframu. 100 Thieves is almost like 100 Thieves. Instead of 100 Thieves exclamation point, it's more of a 100 Thieves. So two intelligent teams, but I'd say based on their form in week 5, I'd give it to C9, despite their loss against Echo Fox, which I almost want to just write off because of that stupid Lucian thing. So hopefully they learn their lesson there. But next up is CLG versus Clutch. I'm going to give this to Clutch because as of now, CLG do not really know how to use their team properly, in my opinion. It's almost like they do have, at this point, they almost kind of do have to live or die around Darshan, as much as it pains me to say it. And they didn't even really give him the time of day in the games that I saw this week. And Clutch, I saw more stability out of Clutch. I saw them definitely, I think their bot lane in particular looks strong. I mean, if they can do the Xayah Raccoon combo or just, I've been saying it, anytime I think Clutch has the upper hand, it's when their bot lane comes online and makes proactive plays. They need to play playmaking champions. I mean, Xayah is not utility, but I like Apollo on Varus. I think that's a good champion on him. Hakuho looks good on the playmaking supports, but if they're not doing anything, then the team, I think, overall is just too weak. But they're going against Stixxay Biofrost, who are pretty non-existent, so I think that will be the victory for Clutch. And I think if it comes down to late game, they will scale. They'll pick the scaling comp and they'll just win the game. I want to see. I think CLG, they have a really interesting team and they have a really interesting win condition, but right now they're just not getting there. Moving on to TSM Echo Fox. Oh god, this could actually be such a shit show because I feel like these teams are definitely just going to try to fight each other. Like, I almost want to say TSM could win this because Echo Fox is going to throw the game at some point because they always throw the game, but I'm giving it to Echo Fox just because they look stronger. Dardoch looks to just be a better jungler than Mike Young at this point in the season. For the most part, if he's like hard camping Huni, he's usually getting something out of it. I mean, we'll have to see what his strategy is in week 6, but in this week, he played primarily around Huni, I would say, whereas in weeks past, it was more of an even split between Huni and Phoenix. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like if this entire team is so aggro, I feel like TSM is just going to roll over and die. Like, I think if TSM don't get the early jump on Echo Fox, then they're just fucked. And I think Echo Fox will definitely have something mean cooked up for this matchup. So I'm giving it to Echo Fox. Huni is looking like the best top laner, and Huni and Phoenix are just like, fucking demons in lane. Like those guys don't give a fuck. And Dardoch is their enabler. Meanwhile, haven't seen too much out of Haunters, and Bjergsen is always he looks good on champions where he could roam like Talia, but and I just haven't seen too much out of this bot lane in TSM either. Mithy seems to not really be doing much as a playmaker for the team, on a team where he almost needs to be a primary or a secondary playmaker. Whereas Echo Fox, I mean, you've got this bot lane going for shit. You've got Huni and Dardoch. It's a strong force. So I'm giving it to Echo Fox. GG versus Optic. We just saw this game, and I'm giving it to Optic. I mean, Optic won last week, so I predict them to win this week. But I'll give actual reasons why. I think Optic is almost starting to come together. I think because it was a close game against FlyQuest, and FlyQuest is no top tier team either. But I mean, yeah, if they can like make comps, like the comp they ran against whoever the fuck it was. The comp the comp that they ran against Golden Guardians, who they're not playing again. Last week, it's like they had the Draven, and it's like they knew how to play around the Draven, and I just thought Acadian, Power of Evil, and Arrow were a strong core in that team, and it sort of took a while for them to maybe come online. But I think Golden Guardians has also improved, but I see it almost seems like they have to sort of get all of the pieces together. Like it's like when they all come together and play well, that they can. Because like in the game that they beat TL, it was like Lorlo played well and Contracts played well and Matt played well and High had some good Orianna play, and it was just like, well, I'll say the standouts to be were Lorlo and Matt, and in the fact that they looked better than they did in the past. And I think Contracts is their best player hands down, so I'll throw him in there. But I feel like literally everyone on Golden Guardians has to be like on their A game to win, and I think Optic just has a better shot, so I'm going to give it to Optic. Let's move on to TL versus FlyQuest. Both of these teams disappointed me this week, and I'm giving it to TL. I feel like, let's see. I mean, FlyQuest, who did they lose to? They lost to Clutch, and they almost lost to Optic. But TL lost to Golden Guardians. But why did that happen? I don't know. Both teams look sloppy, is all I'm going to say. And I think it really does. I want to say if they use Stunt, I feel like they got to use Stunt in this game. I feel like they got to figure out that Stunt's probably a better fit for Wild Turtle, at least from what I've seen. So I'll assume even if they do use Stunt, I saw some troll shit from Olay this week, but I think they should just have a better. They should just have a better bot lane. I don't know. Onda looked a little iffy as well. I mean, both of these teams, God, I'm just gonna say TL and move on. On paper they're still the better team, and that's gonna be that. I can't have insightful analysis for all these. Optic versus TSM. You know what? I have down TSM, but I'm going Optic. I'm changing my mind. I've never done this before. I must have not spent as much time on these predictions as I normally do, but I'm giving it to Optic this game. Fuck it. I thought Power of Evil looked fucking good. I thought Arrow looked fucking good. I expect Arrow to be beasting on Sven and Mithy, not doing shit. Honestly, Lemonation, he's a pretty average player, but he knows. I mean, if you get him on the Braum, that seems to be his best champion. He knows what to do. He knows where to be. The only down, yeah, it's like him and Zig are definitely the weak links on Optic, but I think Acadian. I mean, Mike Young is. I mean, TSM definitely looked proactive this week, but they just kind of. It was almost like they overcommitted when they did go for shit, and I feel like Optic. I'm thinking Optic is kind of on the come up here, and TSM might be on the come down. If that word even makes any sense. I don't know. I'm not convinced, because when I look at TSM and I'm like, okay, Bjergsen and Mike Young are doing shit, and then I'm like, what is Sven and Mithy? I mean, Mithy, I feel like definitely needs to step up. But all right, let's keep rolling. Echo Fox versus TL. Oh, sorry, I'm out of order. FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves. I'm gonna give it to 100 Thieves because I think FlyQuest definitely still look iffy. I thought 100 Thieves played smartly this week. They knew, I mean, they definitely have to shore up some of their weaknesses, but they knew sort of when to pick certain fights, when to capitalize, when to contest. Like Meteos actually had a sick Baron steal in the game against CLG, I think, one of the games. But I think 100 Thieves, based on their form in Week 5, I think they're going to be better than FlyQuest. And then there's the whole stunt JJ thing, which I think in this matchup probably doesn't matter as much. But I don't know. In FlyQuest, you kind of see them like get. I mean, the thing I guess I can really harp on is, and 100 Thieves did this too, honestly. So, but I think FlyQuest were almost worse, and they sort of like 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves CLG was more back and forth, but FlyQuest like should have just closed out that game against Optic 20 minutes faster than it lasted. So I think even if FlyQuest can get an early lead, if Onda's aggressive and if they play around bot or mid, I think 100 Thieves can definitely just come back in the game and win. Moving on to CLG versus Golden Guardians. I'm gonna give it to CLG. I think that I think Golden Guardians, like I almost wanted this. I was very close to predicting them, but like I was saying earlier, all of them kind of have to be in sync for this to happen. And the same goes to CLG to a degree, but I felt like CLG, regardless of the fact that they didn't have the best games, I felt like both of their games were somewhat close, and they were still able to remain slightly relevant. But my main complaint with them is that they were basically getting leads and not doing too much off of them. They'd pick up a kill here and there, and then they'd kind of either outstay their welcome and lose some members of the team, or they'd yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But I still think CLG. I think that just the improved form from Reignover, a more consistent jungler will be able to, because contracts can be a little streaky, but I think Reignover looked pretty consistent in that week, and I mean they still play around Darshan. Let's just hope to God they play around Darshan, and maybe their bot lane will. I'm not gonna hope that I'm not gonna assume their bot lane is gonna step up, because I don't like to go off of like hope and like guesswork, I guess. But CLG probably, no. I think Golden Guardians have the better bot lane looking at Week 5. But I'm still gonna give it to CLG because I think if Golden Guardians do tend to throw their leads a lot. So, and the last game is C9 versus Clutch. I'm giving it to C9. I think that although Clutch have a pretty solid mid to late game, and they do take a while to close out their games, they're able to transition, sort of slowly choke out their opponents and get wins. I think C9 will come in with a fucking game plan. I think they'll realize what's up, and they're gonna have Licorice on, hopefully not Lucian. And I just think that Svensgaren and Smoothie, I thought Svensgaren definitely stepped up this week as a playmaker, despite their loss to Echo Fox. But I thought he looked fucking solid against TSM. And yeah, I'll make that one short and sweet. I think C9 will be Clutch. So thank you for watching this episode. If you've made it to this point, sorry for the audio issues. That was annoying. I will definitely be more cognizant of that in the future. So, thanks for watching, and yeah, see you next week.